When I was younger, I never imagined my own family would betray me. I thought loyalty was everything. I believed in trust. I believed in love. But the truth? Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones sharpening the knife behind your back. My name is Clara. And this is the story of how my stepsister tried to destroy me, and how I turned everything back on her, with the help of a late-night phone call from my lawyer. It all began the night my father passed away. He had been sick for months, and though we all knew the end was near, nothing could prepare me for the moment it actually happened. My stepsister, Veronica, acted devastated in front of everyone. But deep inside, I knew her tears were fake. She had always wanted one thing, my father's money. You see, Veronica was my father's second wife's daughter. We weren't blood related. From the day she moved into our home, she treated me like competition. Competition for my father's love, competition for attention, competition for the future inheritance. I ignored it, I tried to keep peace. But looking back, maybe I should have seen the storm coming. The funeral was quiet, but I couldn't help notice Veronica's smirk whenever people mentioned the estate. The house, the businesses, the accounts, everyone knew my father was wealthy. Everyone also assumed Veronica and I would share it fairly. That's what my father had always promised. But 2 weeks later, everything changed. One morning, I received a call from Veronica. Her voice was calm, rehearsed, almost too kind. She said, "Clara, we need to meet with the lawyer today. Dad left clear instructions. It will all be sorted quickly." I didn't question it. I trusted the process. I trusted family. I thought the law would protect me. I was wrong. When we arrived at the lawyer's office, something felt off. Veronica sat with confidence, her hands folded, a smug look on her face. The lawyer, Mr. Daniels, avoided eye contact with me. Veronica was never supposed to inherit anything. She manipulated the system. But now we have proof. Tears streamed down my face. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't abandoned. My father had believed in me after all. The lawyer continued, "I'm arranging an official court session this week. But I need you to be strong. Veronica will fight back, and she'll lie, but the truth is on your side." When I hung up the phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks, hope. But also, fire. The betrayal had cut deep. But now, I had the chance to turn the tables. To show Veronica that her greed would be her downfall. The next morning, I acted calm. I even sent Veronica a text saying, "I understand now. I accept your victory. Let me come over for dinner one last time before I leave." She replied instantly, "Of course, sister. One last dinner." But in reality, I wasn't coming to say goodbye. I was coming to witness her downfall. Because at that dinner, the lawyer would arrive. With the real will. And the truth would tear her smug smile apart. The evening of the dinner, I stood in front of the mirror, my hands trembling. Not out of fear, but out of anticipation. Tonight wasn't just another family gathering. Tonight was the night the truth would come crashing down on Veronica's head. I wore something simple, nothing too flashy. I wanted her to think I was beaten, that I had accepted defeat. I wanted her confidence high, because the higher she climbed, the harder she would fall. When I arrived at the house, the same house I had grown up in, Veronica welcomed me at the door with a fake smile plastered across her face. "Clara. I'm so glad you came. I was worried you might hold a grudge." I forced a small smile. "No grudges, Veronica. I just wanted to have one last dinner together, before I move on." She tilted her head, clearly savoring the moment. "Good. It's better this way. Less messy." The dining room was decorated with candles and fine china. Veronica had always loved theatrics. She poured herself a glass of wine and offered me one too. I took it, swirling it slowly, pretending to sip. Inside, I was counting the seconds until Mr. Daniels arrived. Throughout dinner, she couldn't resist gloating. You know, Clara, Dad always said I had the mind for business. He probably realized you were too soft, too naive. That's why he left it all to me. Her words were poison, but I kept my face calm. Maybe you're right, I said softly. Maybe I was never meant to handle it. She smirked, satisfied. For her, victory wasn't just about winning money. It was about breaking me completely. And then, the doorbell rang. Veronica frowned. Who could that be? She stood up, heels clicking on the marble floor, and walked to the door. When she opened it, her smile froze. It was Mr. Daniels. Good evening, he said firmly, stepping inside with a leather briefcase in hand. I apologize for the late intrusion, but this is urgent. Veronica's eyes narrowed. What are you doing here? We've already settled everything. Clara and I were just having dinner. Mr. Daniels didn't waste time. He set the briefcase on the table and pulled out a thick envelope. That's precisely why I'm here. Because everything is not settled. I've discovered the true contents of your father's will. And I think both of you deserve to hear it, together. My heart pounded as I watched Veronica's face twitch. She tried to laugh it off. Oh please. This is unnecessary. The will has already been executed. But Mr. Daniels shook his head. No, Veronica. The document you provided was a forgery. A very convincing one, but forged nonetheless. Your father's original will was hidden, and it leaves everything, I repeat, everything, to Clara. The words hit like thunder. I turned to look at Veronica. Her face drained of color. She stammered, that can't be true. You're lying. Mr. Daniels remained calm. I have proof. Signatures, notarizations, even your father's personal letter to Clara. The court will verify it within days. Until then, consider this dinner, the last time you sit at this table as if it were yours. Veronica slammed her fist on the table, knocking over her wine glass. Red liquid spilled across the white tablecloth, spreading like blood. Her mask of confidence shattered, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. You can't do this, she shouted. I took care of him. I was the one by his side. I stood slowly, my voice steady, calm, sharp. No, Veronica. You weren't by his side. You were by his wallet. And Dad knew it. That's why he chose me. That's why you'll never have what you wanted. She lunged toward me, her face twisted in rage, but Mr. Daniels stepped between us. Enough. The court will handle this. Until then, you are to refrain from making any changes to the estate. Any attempt to interfere will only worsen your case. Veronica's hands trembled. She looked like a caged animal, furious yet helpless. Finally, she collapsed into her chair, muttering under her breath, "This isn't over. This isn't over, Clara." But deep down, I knew it was over. The lawyer gathered his papers and gave me a reassuring nod. We'll meet tomorrow morning. Be ready. Justice is finally on your side. After he left, I walked toward the door. Veronica glared at me, her eyes burning with hatred. I paused, turning back to her one last time. Dad trusted me, Veronica. That's something you can never steal. And with that, I walked out, leaving her surrounded by the wreckage of her lies. But the battle wasn't truly finished. The days that followed were brutal. Court hearings, legal battles, endless arguments. Veronica hired expensive lawyers, tried to twist the story, even claimed I manipulated Mr. Daniels. But the evidence was undeniable. My father's handwriting, his seal, his words, all of it pointed to the truth. Every time Veronica tried to attack, the truth struck her down harder. The judge grew impatient with her lies. Witnesses came forward, confirming her greed and manipulations. Slowly, piece by piece, her empire of deceit crumbled. Weeks later, the final verdict was announced: the estate was mine. The house, the businesses, the accounts, all of it, legally and officially, transferred into my name. When the judge read the decision aloud, Veronica broke down in the courtroom, screaming, crying, begging. She even fell to her knees, pleading with me to give her something, anything. But I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You already had everything, Veronica. And you threw it away with your greed. I owe you nothing." The gavel struck. Case closed. That night, I returned to the house, my house. The same walls that once echoed with Veronica's laughter and mockery now belonged to me again. As I walked through each room, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. In my father's study, I found his letter once more. His words echoed in my heart, "Clara, I know you are strong, kind, and just. Never let greed corrupt you. This family's legacy is safe with you." Tears welled in my eyes. I whispered softly, "I won't let you down, Dad. I promise." And as I looked out the window, I saw Veronica's car parked across the street. She sat inside, watching the house she had lost, her face pale and broken. For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. But then I remembered the nights I cried myself to sleep, the humiliation, the lies, the betrayal. And just like that, the pity vanished. Revenge wasn't loud. Revenge wasn't violent. Revenge was justice. And justice had been served. After the court ruling, you'd think it would all be over. That I could breathe, rest, and move on. But people like Veronica don't disappear quietly. For weeks after the verdict, she lurked in the shadows of my life. Strange phone calls at midnight. Anonymous letters slipped under my door, whispers from neighbors that she had been seen near the house, pacing like a ghost that couldn't leave. At first, I tried to ignore it. I thought, if I don't feed her obsession, she'll eventually let go. But Veronica wasn't built to accept defeat. She was built on envy, fueled by greed, and when those were taken from her, all she had left was hatred. One evening, I was sitting in the study, my father's study, now mine, when my phone buzzed. A text message. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. It read, "You think you've won, but I'm not finished. You'll regret taking everything from me." I clenched my fist. My instinct screamed it was her. Veronica. Instead of replying, I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Mr. Daniels. Minutes later, he called me. "Clara, don't respond to her. Document everything. She's trying to intimidate you, but the law is on your side. If she crosses the line, she'll destroy herself." I thanked him and hung up. But inside, my anger simmered. Why couldn't she just let go? Why did she keep clinging to something that never belonged to her? Days turned into weeks, and then came her most desperate move. It was a Friday night when I returned home from the grocery store. As I unlocked the front door, I felt a presence behind me. Before I could turn, a voice hissed, "You don't deserve any of this, Clara." I spun around. It was Veronica. Her eyes were wild, her hair unkempt, her clothes wrinkled as if she hadn't slept in days. "Veronica, what are you doing here?" I demanded, my voice firm. She stepped closer, her hands trembling. "This was supposed to be mine. Dad loved me too, he trusted me too. You stole it from me. You and that crooked lawyer." I cut her off. "No, Veronica. Dad saw through you. That's why he left everything to me. You forged papers, you lied, you cheated. You lost because you betrayed him. You betrayed me. That's the truth." Her face twisted with rage. For a moment, I thought she might strike me. But instead, she broke down, falling to her knees on the porch, sobbing uncontrollably. "I just wanted to feel like I belonged. I just wanted everything he promised me." For the first time, I saw her not as my enemy, but as a broken woman crushed by her own greed. And I realized, that was the real revenge. She had destroyed herself. I stepped back, my voice cold. "You wanted everything, Veronica. But in the end, you're left with nothing. That's not my doing. That's yours." I called the police. When they arrived, she didn't resist. They escorted her away, her sobs echoing into the night. I knew then that chapter of my life was truly closing. But what I didn't expect was the final letter. A week later, Mr. Daniels visited me again. He handed me an envelope, weathered and sealed with my father's handwriting. This was hidden deeper in the safe. "I think you should see it now," he said. With trembling hands, I opened it. Inside was a handwritten note from my father. "My dearest Clara, if you are reading this, then the truth has come to light. I know Veronica may try to deceive, to take what isn't hers. But I trust you to stand firm. Remember, kindness is your strength, but wisdom is your shield. Do not let anger consume you, for revenge will come not from hate, but from justice. Carry this legacy with pride, and know that I have always loved you, my daughter." Tears streamed down my face as I read his words. They weren't just instructions. They were a reminder. A reminder that revenge wasn't about destroying Veronica, it was about protecting what was right, and proving that truth will always rise above lies. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the drawer. For the first time in months, I felt peace settle over me. From that day forward, I stopped living in Veronica's shadow. I took control of the businesses my father had left me. I rebuilt the home, not with greed or vanity, but with love and memories of him. I hired workers, expanded his company, and made sure his legacy grew stronger. And every time I succeeded, I knew Veronica could see it, from whatever small, empty apartment she was forced to live in after losing everything. She had become a whisper, a cautionary tale, a reminder of what greed can do to a soul. I never saw her again after that night on the porch. Some say she moved far away. Others say she still lingers in town, bitter and forgotten. But I don't care. Because I won. Not just the inheritance, not just the house. I won back my dignity, my father's trust, and my future. And in the end, that was the sweetest revenge of all. My story is proof: when lies rise, the truth rises higher. When greed takes, justice restores. And when betrayal strikes, strength answers back. This is how I turned my stepsister's deception into her downfall. This is how I reclaimed everything she tried to steal. And this is how revenge, true revenge, is served. The weeks after Veronica's arrest were quieter, but the silence was heavy, like the calm after a violent storm. For the first time, I could sleep without nightmares of betrayal. But I knew it wasn't just over for her. Life has a way of delivering consequences long after the verdict. Word spread quickly through town. People whispered about her at grocery stores, at cafes, even in church pews. The once proud, arrogant Veronica became nothing more than a scandalous headline. Everyone knew she had tried to forge our father's will. Everyone knew she had been exposed. And with that, her reputation crumbled faster than her lies. Her friends? They vanished. The ones who used to flock to her parties, who used to brag about being close to her, now avoided her like a curse. Her expensive phone stopped ringing. Invitations stopped coming. The same people who once laughed with her now whispered behind her back. I heard through neighbors that she had been evicted from the apartment she fled to. Without money, without inheritance, she couldn't keep up with her lifestyle. Her designer handbags, her jewelry, her car, all sold one by one, just to survive. At night, I would sometimes see her from the window. She would stand across the street, staring at the house. Our house. Her figure small, broken, swallowed by shadows. At first, I wondered why she kept coming back. But then I realized, she had nothing else left. The house wasn't just bricks and walls to her. It was her last taste of power, her last reminder of what she had lost. And still, I refused to let her back in. While Veronica sank, I rose. I took over father's business, though at first it terrified me. Endless files, contracts, employees who doubted me. But with time, I found my rhythm. Every deal I closed, every expansion I led, felt like a victory not just for me, but for the man who had trusted me with his legacy. I worked long hours. I poured myself into learning. And soon, the same employees who doubted me began to respect me. They saw my strength. They saw my resolve. And they followed me. Months passed, and the company flourished under my guidance. Profits grew. Partnerships strengthened. My name became synonymous with success, with resilience. Where Veronica's greed had sought to tear everything down, I rebuilt with vision and purpose. One afternoon, I attended a business conference, standing among some of the most powerful figures in the industry. As I introduced myself, I saw recognition in their eyes. Not as Veronica's stepsister. Not as the girl almost cheated out of her inheritance. But as Clara, the rightful heir, the woman who rose from betrayal to build something greater. It was in those moments I realized, revenge isn't just about watching your enemy fall. It's about rising higher, stronger, beyond their reach. But Veronica hadn't let go. One rainy evening, as I was leaving the office, she appeared again. Soaked, shivering, her eyes hollow. She looked like a ghost of the sister I once knew. "Clara, please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I have nothing. Nowhere to go. Help me, just a little." I stared at her. Memories flooded back, the smug smile in the lawyer's office, the lies, the way she kicked me out of my own home. For a moment, pity tugged at my heart. But then my father's letter echoed in my mind: "Kindness is your strength, but wisdom is your shield." Wisdom told me this: helping Veronica wouldn't heal her. It would only feed the same greed that destroyed her. I took a deep breath. "Veronica, you made your choices. And those choices destroyed you. I can't fix that. Only you can." Her face twisted. For a second, I thought she might spit venom again. But instead, she dropped her gaze, turned, and walked into the rain. That was the last time I ever saw her. Years later, people still ask me about her. Some say she drifted to another town, others whisper she married someone wealthy to start over. I don't know. I don't care. Because I learned something important: revenge doesn't always mean fire and fury. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well, living the life your enemies tried to steal from you. Today, I sit in the office my father once sat in. His picture rests on the desk. Every morning, I greet him with a promise that I'll honor what he built, that I'll never let greed poison me the way it poisoned Veronica. I walk through the halls of the house, my house, and I see not her lies, but my father's love. The walls that once heard her gloating now echo with my laughter. The rooms she tried to claim now carry memories of resilience. And when I pass the study, I sometimes pause at the drawer holding his letter. The ink has faded, the paper worn, but the words remain sharp: "Do not let anger consume you. Revenge will come not from hate, but from justice." Justice. That's what I found. That's what I claimed. And so, I leave you with this: if someone betrays you, if someone tries to steal what is yours, remember this story. Remember mine. Revenge doesn't need to be cruel, or violent, or reckless. Revenge is truth. Revenge is rising above. And revenge is letting those who wronged you drown in the consequences of their own choices, while you walk away stronger, untouchable, victorious. It has been years since that storm passed. Years since Veronica tried to take everything from me. Time has a way of softening memories, but not this one. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about survival. It's about justice. It's about becoming more than what they ever thought I could be. I often sit on the porch of the house, watching the sunrise spill across the garden my father once tended. Every flower, every stone, every corner of this place reminds me of him. Reminds me of what was almost stolen, and what I fought to reclaim. The company has grown beyond what he built. What was once a modest empire has now expanded into something bigger than I could have imagined. Branches in other cities, partnerships across the globe. My name, Clara, now carries weight, not as a victim of betrayal, but as a symbol of strength. Segment 4, 1999 characters. And yet, sometimes, late at night, I think of Veronica. I wonder where she is, what she's become. Did she ever change? Did she ever learn? Or is she still wandering, chasing a life that was never meant to be hers? I'll never know. But perhaps that's the final piece of revenge. She became irrelevant. Forgotten. While I became unforgettable. I remember one particular evening, years after the trial. I was at a charity gala, standing in a room full of the city's most powerful people. A young woman approached me nervously. She said, "Miss Clara, I know your story. I watched how you survived, how you rose. You inspire me. I want to be like you one day." Her words shook me. It was then I realized my revenge had turned into something more, a legacy. Because revenge isn't just about making your enemies suffer. It's about turning pain into power, betrayal into motivation, and scars into symbols of survival. If Veronica had succeeded, I would have been erased. My name forgotten. My father's legacy destroyed. But because she failed, because truth won, I now stand taller than ever. And that is the ultimate revenge. There are nights I reread my father's letters. Each word feels like a guiding hand still leading me. He told me not to let anger consume me. And though I burned with rage, I learned to turn that fire into fuel. Not to destroy, but to build. And I built something she could never touch. The story of Veronica is a story I rarely tell anymore. Not because I fear it, but because it no longer controls me. She wanted me weak, broken, defeated. Instead, she gave me something far greater than inheritance. She gave me the gift of resilience. To anyone listening, I'll leave you with this truth: people will betray you. People will lie, cheat, and try to steal what's yours. They may even succeed for a moment. But remember this: lies crumble. Greed collapses. And betrayal always circles back to destroy the betrayer. Stand strong. Hold on to truth. And when the time comes, you won't even need to fight for revenge. Justice will hand it to you. As for me, I no longer think of Veronica with anger. I think of her as a lesson. A reminder of what I survived. A chapter closed. And every morning, when the sun rises over the house she tried to claim, I smile. Because I know the truth. This is my home. This is my legacy. This is my victory. And this is my revenge.